Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket from Rev TV. You'll get every game every Sunday afternoon from around the league. Plus, NFL Sunday Ticket gives you up to 8 live games on one screen with Game Mix. You'll get that died and woke up in football heaven experience when you upgrade to NFL Sunday Ticket Deluxe, including Red Zone, the channel dedicated to every scoring play from every game. And if you add Rev TV HD to NFL Sunday Ticket Deluxe, you'll be entered to win big weekly prizes with NFL Wildcard Mania. Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into MB12 Weekend, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, the Minister of Immigration addresses the new aggressive policies now in effect. A prominent pastor calls for stiffer penalties for crime. Calls for men to take a deeper interest in the referendum on gender equality. A local airline gearing up for expected price increases. Plus, we've got all those stories and more straight ahead on MB12. Thanks for joining us. After nearly 300 people, the majority of which are Haitian nationals, were yesterday rounded up by the Department of Immigration on the first day of implementation of its new policy, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration is speaking out, explaining the way forward and the controversial practice of deporting the children of undocumented migrants. Jasmine Brown reports.
Minister Mitchell fielded questions from the press this afternoon, insisting that the actions taken by his ministry yesterday were much needed and should have been done a long time ago, despite the backlash from the public. Immigration officers conducted several apprehension exercises during an island-wide sweep of several communities. Officials reported yesterday that more than 300 migrants had been apprehended in the roundups. Today, Mitchell said 77 were kept in custody. Mitchell says yesterday's actions are being misconstrued. He called the apprehensions routine work for immigration officers.
Illegal migration in the country is a matter not for high drama, but for a routine, sustained effort to ensure that we get in control of the issue and manage the problem. So yesterday was no different from what the department ordinarily does and should not be used by people to inflame passions. The job has to get done to protect our borders. Neither fear nor incitement should come out of this. The measures announced are of general application, I say that again, and are not targeted at any particular national group. And no one should seek to play the victim in this.
Speaking candidly, Mitchell says the work should have been carried out a long time ago. Men, women, and children were taken into custody. Since the apprehensions, concern has arisen over the treatment of children after photos and videos circulated on social media and in news reports. Mitchell reiterated the department's policy, saying children of illegal migrants who are apprehended with their parents are deported with their families. He added that children without status who are apprehended without a parent or guardian are turned over to social services.
Now, some people have expressed a concern about children, and I would only say we are seeking, and I understand the Department of Social Services is actually on the scene as we speak with regard to the children.
Mitchell says the illegal immigration issue is not one that should be made political.
It appears now that some political operatives have gotten into the matter with a view to seeking the seeds of division, and I'm asking them to desist. And I ask the leaders of opposition parties to speak to their trolls on social media to resist the temptation to sow the seeds of discord. I've asked our supporters to do the same thing, because this is not about FNM or PLP or DNA. This is about the Bahamas. There needs to be balance in all that we do in this. And I ask everyone to resist the temptation to make this an us or them situation. The government is not in that, and I am not in that personally. This is about national security.
According to immigration statistics released today, there are currently 496 migrants being housed at the detention center. That includes 396 Haitians, 43 Cubans, 21 Jamaicans, and 20 Dominicans. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
In other news, 700 passengers and crew were reportedly evacuated from the Bahamas Celebration after the cruise ship ran aground outside Freeport Harbor at around 9 p.m. Friday. There was a small hole in the vessel as a result of running aground, but officials say that has been repaired and the ship is no longer in danger of sinking. According to a statement issued by the Celebration Cruise Line, passengers were never in any danger and were being accommodated at various resorts on the island. For now, Monday's cruise has been canceled. It's unclear how long the ship will remain in port. The cruise line says it will release more information as the situation progresses. And from the police tonight, 2 men are in serious condition in hospital after both were shot in the back. Reports are that the men were attending a party at a business establishment on Tawny-Darling Highway when they were shot just after midnight. Police say the men are in serious condition. No word from police on where the assailants are, but investigations continue. Now, police say a short while later at around 12:30 Sunday morning, police on patrol in the Tawny-Darling Highway area responded to the sound of gunshots. They say 2 men who jumped into a Nissan Maxima sped off and they chased after them. The occupants eventually stopped the car and attempted to escape on foot, according to reports. But police say after a short chase, they detained one of the men while the other made well his escape. Police conducted a search of the vehicle and found a handgun and ammunition inside. Police didn't specify whether the 2 incidents are related. Now, outspoken pastor and head of New Covenant Baptist Church, Bishop Simeon Hall, said now is time for government to stop playing around with the country's crime problem and put fear in the hearts and minds of criminals. Hall, who said he was a part of government's special meeting on crime on Thursday, said while he can't provide details on what was shared during that meeting, he feels satisfied that certain measures planned to stem crime will be successful. But he said in the meantime, stiffer minimum penalties for certain crimes must be enacted and enforced.
You should face stiff penalties. We need to send strong consequences, attach strong consequences to our personal actions. The same thing with murder, for someone to take life. Now, obviously, no one will hang in the Bahamas for a very long time. I do not see that. But I think there are some people who obviously do not belong among civilized society. So take them out of the rest of society. Put them away for life. Now, you know, as harsh as that might seem, that is not as harsh as taking his life.
Hall said his only criticism of government in regard to the handling of the crime scourge is that it hasn't taken the drastic measures needed to send perpetrators a message.
To be honest with you, that has been one thing that has been lacking in some of the pronouncements made by government, successive governments. They come up with a plan and the criminals laugh, and when you look, instead of 40 murders, we're now at 96. So I think some immediate things must be done. We must send the fear in the heart. We must take some of the fear out of the hearts and minds of common citizens and put it into the hearts and minds of would-be criminals.
The pastor said while there's no magic solution to the problem, there are things that can be done now to stem the violence.
I have proffered the idea that any child under the age of 18 getting in trouble with the law, they should pull in that parent. If your child under 18 breaks a school window, you should be made to pay for it, rather than the money coming out of the treasury. I've said that for years. Some things can be fixed.
And although the postponed constitutional referendum on gender equality will impact the rights of Bahamian men and women, the focus for the most part has been placed on women's rights. Well, with the spotlight being aimed at women, retired Justice Ruby Nodditt says male interest on the matter has been lackluster.
We have not probably seen the face of the male as much as we should, because these bills are not just about women or women's rights. And a lot of people like to say, oh, there's just a lot of women trooping around. The males are a little shy to come forward, and men are like that, although I think the politicians are not shy.
Nottage says men have been more involved in the educational campaign, but admits she would like to see more of them involved in the advocacy process.
Men will probably come in when there's the advocacy, which is the yes or no. But the educational side, men are slower to do that. I only say slower. We have men involved. Vince Martin is one. Of course, we have our own chair, Sean McQueenie, and we have our own, and he's been the person who's really presented it, all Commander Lauren Klein. So it has been, from an educational standpoint, a little more restricted to persons who have a legal knowledge. And they have been the persons who have been out there speaking to the bills. Now, when it comes to the advocacy standpoint, do you like it, yes, or do you like it, no? That is not the Commission's responsibility. And that is where I think you're going to get more men involved, actually speaking up and saying yes or no.
The referendum was originally slated to be held on November 6th. In late August, leader of government business in the House of Assembly, Dr. Bernard Nottage, expressed concern that there may not be enough time to educate the public on the constitutional amendment bills before going to referendum. 2 weeks later, the referendum on gender equality was delayed until sometime next year. Stay with us. When MB-12 returns, a domestic air carrier says that could cripple the industry altogether once it's implemented in January. Stay with us.